everybody, and welcome to Churchy Chats with the Church Girl. As usual, I am so excited that you are here. My name is Alicia Wiley. If this is your first time here, and I am the owner and creator of a Church Girl, which is a lifestyle brand that seeks to uplift and inspire everyone we have the privilege of connecting with. I have some amazing women on the panel tonight, and we have some hot topics, so I want to jump right into it. But first, I'm going to have the panelists to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get right started with tonight's topics. So, Nathalie, talk to us. Tell us whatever it is you want us to know.
Well, I am Nathalie Nelson Parker, the proud daughter of two Jamaican immigrants, wife to
Come on,
Leon
Jamaican.
Parker, and mother to Leon Parker the fourth. And basically, I am the transformational leader. I help individuals and organizations lead, innovate, and transform. And we do that through programming, speaking, books, all of that good stuff. And I'm also the host of the Lit Conference, the Leading in Transformation Conference.com.
Okay, I like that.
It's lit. It's definitely lit. And we're gearing up for a 5-stop tour hitting up HBCUs and communities across the country. We're just so excited about being able to do that, lead, innovate, and transform at this time.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm excited to have you.
I'm excited. Thank you. And to the amazing panelists. Like, I just can't wait to dig into these hot topics.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Kris, talk to the people, sis.
Hey, sis. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. It is definitely a privilege and an honor to be in the company of you and these other young ladies. My name is Kris Hicks. I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. I'm creative director at Metropolitan Baptist Church and owner of Rhythm Infused Productions.
I am so well, y'all. I'm not gonna get into how I know everybody, but I have known Kris literally my whole life. We are family, legitimately, and okay. I ain't gonna talk. Come on, AJ. Come on, AJ.
Okay, my name is Alice AJ Glynn. Most people just call me AJ. I am a PK. I'm from Texas, but New Orleans is also home, and I've had the privilege to be a member at Life Center Cathedral. At my church in Texas, I am a leader with the youth department, young adult department, as well as the singles ministry, and I'm just a natural educator. I've been an educator for 11 plus years now. So that's what I do. And then I also have a passion for grief ministry. So, and that came out of me losing my son, but that's something else that I do here.
And I'm so glad you're here. And y'all, AJ is my sister. I am so excited to have her here as well. All right, y'all, we got some good topics tonight. So let's go on and jump into them. So our first topic, there is a group called 21 Pilots, and it's a duo. And one of the members of the group, I guess, was kind of being pressed to use his platform for Black Lives Matter, etc. And he posted or tweeted a picture of platform shoes. And he kind of made a joke about, not having used his platforms in a while and needing to dust them off. And shortly after, he apologizes for the insensitive tweet because, I can see how it can be taken as insensitive in this time. But do you all think that the joke was really insensitive?
I definitely think it was insensitive.
Okay.
I think we all get the joke and probably on some level can enjoy the humor of it. But I do think it was insensitive. But by the same token, who are fans to tell him how to use his platform? So, I think, fans come and go if you're not down with, the fact that he's not supporting Black Lives Matter. That's okay. He doesn't have to. Clearly, a lot of people still don't support it. So we don't need that.
Right. AJ, Nathalie, what do y'all think?
So yes, the joke was insensitive, but I'm ready for us to stop begging people to support us. Whoever they are, just stop. Right. When they show you who they are and where they stand, and a lot of times they do that with their silence. Let's just stop begging them to support us. We don't need a savior from outside of us. So, and we look for that a lot. We see that depicted in movies about our famous Black figures, there's always this white savior mentality. And so I'm just kind of over us begging for their support. Like they either are, they aren't. And like, let's move on and roll with the people that are supportive of different movements that we have and of our causes.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Natalie?
I totally agree with both Kris and Alice. And then there's also this next piece to it, right? So context matters. So I'm not a fan. I don't know 21 Pilots. I don't know that brand very much. But there are, let's keep it real, right? There are a lot of artists. There are a lot of people who make their money from either appropriating Black persons or Black dollars. And so there is a sense of, no, we can't hold people accountable. We can't beg people what to do on their platform. But there is also a responsibility on the consumer side to be knowledgeable of where you are sending your support and your dollars. And so the second part of that question is really cancel culture. Right? Like, are we going to be holding people accountable to the values, the principles, and just plain out the value of Black life in this here 2020?
Listen.
And I had a serious conversation with my husband. I said, I'm about to stop using Amazon, as hard as that decision might be.
Don't even give me information on that, because I need to be ignorant of these things.
Right.
But it's like that responsibility, like you said, Alice. Like we don't need someone to save us, but we do need to be more intentional about where we put our energy,
definitely,
where we put our support, and where we put our dollars.
Definitely.
Yeah, and can I say, I don't want anybody to, I don't know if we feel like we're so supported by a tweet or by a social media post. Like, don't just, if you're just tweeting Black Lives Matter, but there's nothing behind that, then miss me. You know what I'm saying? Miss me on that. So I don't know if we feel like, because you have some people who are very quiet socially, but I mean, social media wise, let me say that, but they are really, out here for the cause. And I think now everything is under the social media microscope, but I want to know, how do you live your life? You know what I'm saying? What are you doing to change systemic laws and racism? Like, what are you doing for the cause? Miss me on a tweet.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that you're showing your support, but that's like taking Asia Mommy and Uncle Ben off the box. Okay. Thank you, but I need some real change. You know what I'm saying? I need some real change. So I don't know if I felt that it was insensitive. And I guess because he didn't really, I mean, it wasn't like he specifically said something about not supporting Black Lives Matter, and like Kris said, to Kris's point, we cannot tell people how to use their platform, right? And we want to, because as Nathalie said, where's our money going, right? What are we supporting, or what are they appropriating that we deserve for them to stand up for us? But to Alice's point, we can't make people. I don't need you to be my savior. We're good. If this is not something that you want to make a stand for, because it's Black people who aren't out here saying Black Lives Matter. Have we held them accountable?
Right.
Girl, Jordan just said something for the first time. Michael Jordan. But I do appreciate, though, like the level of, and you're right, a tweet, a hashtag, that cannot negate the level of work that needs to happen to systemically change our society to become more equitable. But I'm here for people like calling people out and like saying, absolutely, we're not going to be in a society that's anti-racist, and you're going to value my Black life.
Absolutely. And if I'm calling you out based on an action or a specific thing that you did or said that related directly to Black lives, then I'm here for it. I'm here for calling people out on anything racist or semi-racist or that feels racist. Because even in New Orleans, we have Mardi Gras, right? And most of our crews are all white crews.
Yep.
So in recent years, we've had more, mixed crews, and we have a crew that's all women. And because of the comment that the crew leader made, like there was a mass exodus of Black people, but y'all have to understand how serious Mardi Gras is to New Orleanians. Like it is like bigger than Christmas. Right? So like Christmas, what? Mardi Gras is everything. So for us to have to give up something, show me where you're willing to make a sacrifice, where you're willing to walk out, because it costs a lot to be a part of this and to support this. And all the Black people and the Black women who are out here and spending money and riding and doing all of this stuff, they walked out, and I respect that. I know it could not have been easy for a lot of them. I'm not naturally born New Orleans, so I'm not as invested in Mardi Gras as most, but I do understand when something means something to you and you have to make a decision based on what's right and what's wrong. So we just have to
in that crew that left because of that. So it's a big deal. Like I'm all for calling people out. I'm just not for begging them to do anything about it. Because you show me who you are, I'm gonna believe you. But definitely call them out. If you're getting my dollars and I'm supporting, whatever it is that you do, then you do have some sort of responsibility, or you should feel some sort of responsibility if that's where you make your money. This, for some reason, this just makes me think about is it Paula White who back in she got a church full of us. And then one of those singers that's made a lot of money singing at Black churches, who whenever he won, she posted this picture on social media that said Jesus was finally going back into the White House or something like that, as if he hadn't been there the last 8 years because Obama was Black or something. But it's just like, watch who you are, supporting, because people look like when they can't make it anywhere else, or when they realize how we will spend our dollar and how much of our dollar we're willing to spend, but then they don't support our causes and make all their money off of us. Yeah, that's a big deal.
And I think that's a great point. Do we hold the people in our lives accountable, right? Like, do you hold your pastor accountable for you know what I mean? And I'm not the type of person.
I do, because my pastor, my husband.
Look, babe, I ain't gonna be dealing with no foolishness now.
That text, I had a problem with how you did.
And you know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. And I don't mean so much as Black. I mean, although we should hold everybody responsible, right? But if I went to a church and my pastor was white, what am I holding that person accountable? The person who is supposed to be, looking over my soul. Like, I've heard a little bit of noise, but the noise that I've heard to the white pastors who have all Black congregations has been not from their members. It's been from other, big name African American, or not even other preachers. It's just been from random people on the internet making noise. Right? So I'm all about holding people. First of all, let's start right here in the church and hold each other accountable. Right? Let's hold the leaders of the church accountable, especially those of the other hue. And then we just have so many layers. There's so many layers to this.
So many platforms.
So many platforms. And I just don't want no fake love, right? So if you didn't feel the need to say it, people pressured you into saying it, don't say it. And I'm not saying he doesn't feel this. I'm not speaking for him. I'm just saying I don't want anybody to have to press you to say something for you to say it. And then I feel that's not going to make me feel better. If I have to tell a man, say you love me.
Right.
And he like, oh, I love you. What?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I had to tell you to tell me, then what's the use? But I don't know. Of course, we don't know him personally. I don't know exactly all of what happened with this, but he did come back and he did apologize and he did say, to make it clear where he stands on it, is Black Lives Matter. So that's where we have to leave that. But listen, we're gonna go to our first commercial break because this next topic is juicy. So I hope y'all are good and ready for that. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Get fit with Corey. Fitness made fun with real results. Join us. In-person classes are now available. For more information, www.patreon.com/getfitwithcorey. Sign up today.
Okay, guys, so I have to put a little additional plug on that. Corey is my trainer. I'm embarrassed to say that because I haven't been since like 2 weeks before the pandemic, but y'all pray for me. Anyway, if you are in the New Orleans area, please take this opportunity. If you saw it at the bottom of the screen, you text Churchy Chats. Sorry, I don't know the number, but if you text Churchy Chats to the number that was on the screen, you can get a free class. His step classes are amazing. You are going to be exhausted, but it is fun and you get an excellent workout. So please check that out if you're in the New Orleans area. And he's also online. So you don't have any excuse. Okay, so let's get with this. So Toni Braxton had an interview this past week, and she said, I'm going to read exactly what she said, but some of what she said is I regret not having more sex when I was younger. Right? Now, I didn't know until I read the article. I didn't realize that they were Jehovah's Witnesses, then Catholic, and then Methodist. Right? So they kind of went on a little journey. And she said that she asked her mom in the 70s, and this is kind of off topic, but I thought it was interesting. She said she asked her mom what was going on. Like, why were they searching, for like, why did things keep changing so much? And she was like, we're just searching. We're just kind of going with the flow. And I was like, I watched the show for a little while. I had to give it up. But I watched it for a little while and I didn't take it as she was that type of person, the mom, the parents. But I learned a little bit when I read the article. So they were first Jehovah's Witnesses, then they were Catholic, then they were Methodist. But she said that she just wished she had done more. And she didn't because she was, brought up in a religious situation. So I'm going to read y'all the whole quote and then we'll talk about it, okay? She said, I regret not having more sex when I was younger. I should have drank more. I should have partied more, smoked more even. I think my religious upbringing stopped me from doing a lot of things that I should have done. It's not a good look at the age I am now. The way it works is you do that stuff in your 20s and 30s, and then in your 40s, you've earned enough to pay for the therapy. Now, I thought that this was a good conversation to have because, we're churchy. Most we were, we know how it is to grow up in the church. Is there any regret? And you don't have to speak personally as much as what are your thoughts on, should you have done a little more? Like, did you get it all in there? Like, I mean, I don't know. That wasn't a good. That wasn't a good. Y'all don't mind me. But what are your what are y'all's thoughts on this? I'm very interested to hear your thoughts.
Ooh, child.
It's loaded for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
You go start.
In that, as a PK, I have always been grateful that I didn't have one of those like sets of like pastor parents that didn't allow us to experience anything, that made us feel like we weren't regular. We had to live this other kind of life. PKs that I know whose parents were extremely, like, abnormally strict. As soon as they got out of the house, it seemed like they just started like completely wilding out. So I didn't really go through that phase because, I didn't exactly have a curfew. I just kind of knew what time to not show up at and what not to do while I was outside of the house.
Right.
Like, you know, and a lot of times I was always with my older sisters, kind of experiencing stuff that was a little bit more mature, but you know,
That was exactly my experience.
you know, so I didn't have just this tough, I went out completely green because I wasn't exposed to anything. And I had loads of fun when I was in school, but there were certain, yes, I can say that there were probably certain convictions that I had that kept me from like just completely going off of the deep end.
Sure.
So I guess it just depends on what your convictions are once you come out of the house and where you are. Because for me, I can't say that I have any regrets. Like there was some stuff that I probably dabbled in that I shouldn't have, you know.
Right.
And then also there were some things that I was too afraid, like I do believe in that Bible because that's what I was taught. So there were some things that I wasn't going to get into. So I can't say that I have any of those. Now, can I feel where she's coming from with at this point? Like certain stuff is acceptable while you're younger. And then when you get old and you start trying to like have the time of your life and you're well past that, you do kind of look silly. So, you know, I kind of understand all of that, but, you know, I can't say that I can identify with that experience as far as just like not ever really doing anything. And especially the whole, like, just, she should have had more sex. It's just like, wait, what? I don't know. It just caught me off guard.
Like, what is happening?
What to do with that part of it, but
she couldn't get it all in there. That was
so embarrassing.
Alicia, I am not gonna let you live that one there.
Girl. It'll be forever. It'll be forever our thing. I would be like, you just couldn't get it all in. Okay. So Kris and Nathalie, what do y'all think? I mean, my experience is actually very close to AJ's experience, where I grew up, of course, in a household that was a Christian household. My dad's a pastor, all of that good stuff. But they weren't those type of parents. You know, we kind of did what we wanted to do. You know, I was in the club probably at about, you know, 4-something teen, you know, and it wasn't like that though. I wasn't out there like, wow.
They gave you enough space to like discover and find yourself.
Right. And I had an older sister, same with AJ, you know, so I had an older sister. So a lot of the things that I was able to do, because I was tagging along with sister, she's only 2.5 years older than me, but that's enough to be things, you know, high school, going to college parties and all of that kind of thing. But I didn't have a very strict upbringing. So I felt like I lived my life, you know, enough, enough.
Yeah, I feel the same way, you know, growing up pre-K. Certainly there were some rules, but I never felt that I couldn't go to the club or that I couldn't experience general joys of growing up. I have no regrets. I don't feel like, you know, I didn't get it in when I was supposed to. And I think her points were very on point. You know, you're supposed to live it up in your 20s and 30s, and you pay for it on the back end, but no regrets.
So am I the only one that grew up in a very conservative traditional household?
I think out of the four of us.
Yeah. Okay, y'all. So let me just tell you something. I grew up, so my mom and dad are Jamaican. So I grew up in a traditional Pentecostal household. I'm talking about 3:00 in the morning, you got oil slinged all your face.
So you're one of those social media videos. That's your life.
Like, why am I so oily? At our church, you could not wear pants. You could not wear makeup. You couldn't wear earrings. You couldn't color your hair. Like, it was super, super traditional. And I think what the subtext to what Toni is saying in that article is certain parenting styles and certain parenting principles doesn't allow children to be children, adolescents to be adolescents, and for people to really come into the expansive nature of who they are, right? Because those restrictions are basically saying you got to be somebody else. You got to be in a certain category in your life that at 14, that's not what I'm checking for. I'm trying to,
You're right.
Go to the mall, let my hair down, cut my hair, color my hair, like just discover who I am. And I think that's something that we see more in our African American Black communities than we see in other communities, right? Like I was having a discussion with one of my homegirls the other day, and she's like, when as a Black community do we let children be children? And the double standard of that is that even children are not children. Look at Trayvon Martin. He was, that altercation. He wasn't seen as a child on the street getting Skittles. And so it's like, how do you cultivate that kind of play and wonder and discovery? And I love that your parents gave y'all space. My mama didn't do that.
So did that make you, I'm gonna let you make your point, AJ. Did that make you want to, like AJ said, the people that she knew who was strict, like when you got that freedom, did you just go full force ahead?
When I was like 20 something, I mean, I did everything by the rules, right? You all the rules, all the boxes you check. And then I got to like 20 something and I'm making six figures. I bought my BMW and I'm like, I don't like this life. And I felt like God was calling me to more. And I didn't know what more looked like because I in Jamaican parents, traditionally, you don't leave home until you're married. Okay. And so I left home. I went to seminary and, I had a good year of like being on my own, making my own decisions, living on my own. And that's where I met my husband. But if I did not have that year to kind of discover me and what does it mean to be me and who God was calling me to be and what the expansive version of me was without other people's opinion and perceptions, I don't think I would be who I am.
Good point. AJ, what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, some people just kind of, they do what they know. My niece, this has been a few years back because she just turned 18 a little bit in August or whatever. But I want to say maybe she was about 14 and my sister let her get some highlights in her hair. And someone that we know kind of grew up with made the comment, oh, she got hair color. Next thing you know, it'll be weed and babies or something under the picture on Facebook.
That's quite a leap.
Just because she's got a little highlights and we letting her put on just a touch of makeup.
A little rouge.
Like, you didn't allow your daughter to do that. And right now, today, she's in college smoking weed and doing whatever else. I don't think she had any kids at that point, but she living her best life in college doing the stuff that you claim, you putting on my niece because we let her get some highlights in her hair. Like, you chose to not wear, because I think she just didn't wear makeup like her mom always has, but she still to this day doesn't wear makeup and doesn't do like any color and stuff in her hair. But that's your choice. That doesn't mean that a kid is gonna go and do everything under the sun, because you go and let them have just a little bit of freedom to choose how they're gonna wear their hair after certain ages and stuff. I also think not allowing children to have choices and to make choices early on, it kind of creates followers, because they grow up not really knowing how to make decisions. And I mean, when they're younger, it can be as simple as like, which side of the car do you want to sit on? Do you want apple juice or orange juice? Like, but we have a lot of Black parents who are like, nah, they're going to get what I tell them. They're going to do what I tell them to do. And for the most part, you do have to teach them structure and how to follow rules. But we also need to teach them how to make choices, how to be creative and free thinkers and all of that. And when we stifle them and become too strict on them, we raise a bunch of followers. They never know how to do anything, and they're gullible because we haven't allowed them to think for themselves and to make those choices and to make decisions.
Absolutely. And to that point, my nephew, some people would say that we were strict on him, but when I guess he was about 16, he may have been about 15 or 16. And I was like, Kevin, what are you watching? Or something like that. And then I said, you know what? I said, you're not a child anymore. I said, you've gotten to the age now where you know better. I'm not going, and not that I would hover over him anyway, but I put the ball in his court. And I let him know this is what we expect of you. So I'm not here to make the decision for you, because even when you become an adult, you have to determine what you can handle and what you can do and what you can't do. So at some point, they have to be able to begin to make those decisions for themselves. Now, no, you can't just, be in the room watching porn, but there are things that I have to let you be the deciding factor, because we're not always going to be there to make that decision for you. And if you believe that you raised your child right, then at what point do we start to give them that freedom to make their own decisions and their freedom to, see if anything stuck, right? But I had a comment I wanted to read. This is from a guy. Tori was on. I don't know if he's still on, but he said, he doesn't regret not having more sex or doing drugs, etc. when he was younger. He said, the thing that I wish was done differently is that I wish the previous generation had been more transparent about their sex lives / drug use. Also, I wish they hadn't lied about its effects. The weed is a gateway drug thing, for example. It's been proven false. What happened to a lot of people I know is that when they discovered that these things weren't as they have been told, they ended up overindulging.
Yep.
So what responsibility do we have to the next generation? I mean, as much as it pains me, we are the adults now. So, youth pastors and leaders in our churches and on college campuses, what responsibility do we have to the generation coming behind us to be honest?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think there's two things. There's transparency and there's mentorship. And somehow and somewhere, the passing of the wisdom and the knowledge has not been there consistently as generations have transitioned. So I totally agree with, what's his name?
Tori.
I totally agree with Tori. And thank you for saying that. And so for me personally, I work 100% with young adults because of my own life experiences of knowing how important having a mentor for me was in making good decisions and living into the best version of myself. And those relationships were 100% transparent. 100%. Like, not only were they passing wisdom to me, but they also saw value in my life and my story. And so there's this transformational transaction that happens with intergenerational relationships, because let's keep it real. We all need each other to learn, to grow, and to evolve into our best selves. And the second part of that is for where I am now, where, I'm not in my 20s anymore, but I'm reaching back. So I have mentored from my 20s into now over 13 people. And now in my 30s, I'm being mentored by somebody in her 40s. And so there's this kind of, as you go forward, you reach back and making that, not this, all right, let me go mentor somebody.
Right.
Right. All right, you need help, Pookie, and now, literally, like Jesus did. Have people have authentic, meaningful relationship and do life with people, because when they win, you win. My mentee now, she's doing her MBA. She just opened her S Corp. She's doing a consulting business, and I cried on Saturday. I cried.
My baby.
And to see just a couple of calls a week. That's all I had to pass out of my schedule to see her make a quantum leap into what is going to be her legacy and her livelihood. I'm crying out thinking about it. But those are the kind of things that we have to be authentic about and commit to.
Yeah, I agree. What are y'all thoughts, Kris and AJ?
Go ahead, Kris.
I wholeheartedly agree. Mentorship is super, super important. I've got a couple little proteges that I keep an eye out on. And you have to be transparent with them. You have to find a way to gain their trust, to help them to understand, like, some things I may have done wrong, some things, I may have done right, or I have a different perspective on it now, and here's why. And I think as long as you're open, especially us as women, as we are mentoring other young women, it's very, very important to lay that foundation for them, because all of them don't have that kind of support. I've got some of my mentors online right now in the chat. Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all. AJ, what's your thoughts?
So, I mean, of course, I work with the youth and the young adults at our church. And it's important to me because I always saw my mom do that. Transparency is important because my parents were always transparent. My parents were married at 16 and 19 because my mom was already pregnant. Now, my dad had asked her before when she was like 14, 15, and she was like, nah, we're too young. One time, first time, she got pregnant. And
I didn't know that.
You know, he was like, okay, now you have to.
Now you go marry me.
Yeah. And I get it. You can still say we're too young, but we got this baby on the way. So, and my dad was already a young preacher. He preached his first sermon at 17. So they married. My mom went to prom with her husband, and she had a little baby at home, you know, being kept by a family member or whatever. And so they were always extremely, you know, transparent with young people about their story and how my mom was pregnant before they got married, you know, and they were married by the time she had my sister, but they were very young. And so there were some hurdles and obstacles they went through because, you know, could have been a little bit, you know, too soon, but they did what they had to do, and they've done the work of marriage, you know. But I've always been, because of them and their example, I've always been extremely transparent with young people about things that I did, because at the end of the day, if I can keep you from going down and making certain mistakes, like, hey, learn from mine. I did this, it was really stupid. So here are the real effects, but then also not trying to scare kids out of things by just saying whatever, and also not telling them, like, you know, people that, like, his comment mentioned, you know, weed is a gateway drug, and it's really not. I actually, now that I'm grown, I know of pastors that have, like, smoked weed every day for, you know.
That's because they got anxiety.
You know,
they got anxiety.
It's prescribed. It's a prescription.
You know, their medicine.
You know,
it's come from the earth. So what you want me to say? I don't know.
The Lord made it and said it was
all
good.
The way real and break it all the way down, because I can much more respect you saying, like, hey, I did X, Y, and Z, and even though it's not the worst thing ever, here's how it messed me up. So maybe you know, maybe that's something for you to think about if you're gonna go down that road. Because sometimes trying to scare kids and telling them that these are the effects, they're gonna do it just because they want to see.
Just because they want. And I'm the type of person, I tell my youth group all the time, I'm like, listen, y'all, sin is fun. Okay, I'm not about to tell y'all that it's not, because if it wasn't, nobody would do it. We wouldn't be in this situation if sin was not fun. Exactly. So it's not, you know, and don't expect the enemy to come to you, you know, in a red suit with horns. Like, whatever you find attractive, whatever you like, that's how it's going to come to you. If you like chocolate, it's not going to come to you dressed as Skittles, because that can't entice you. Right? So it's about, like you all have said, learning from the past experiences, but also, as AJ said, just being like, I'm not going to try to scare you out of not doing it. I'm going to tell you the real. I'm going to give you the facts. Here's what happened to me. Here's what I did. Here are some experiences from some of my friends from the group chat. And I'm giving you the information. I need you to make the decision. Now, another young lady commented on it and said that she feels like that statement is true for her. She does regret not having more sex or doing more things when she was younger. She said because she felt as though it wasn't because it was necessary. I'm summarizing, but it wasn't necessarily a conviction for her as much as it was a conviction for those who were teaching her, for our parents, for, you know, those in the church. So it was doing it because this is what I'm supposed to do, not that I feel like this is not right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we addressed that enough, because I talked to my youth group. We had a True Love Ways class a couple summers ago. And I was like, do y'all feel like sex before marriage is wrong? And they were like, not if you love them. And I was like, what? But I felt like that in the inside. But I was like, okay. I mean, I respected what they felt and what they understood it to be. Right. And my responsibility is to teach you.
But then biblically, right? you say that and then you read like Songs of Solomon and like
That's for the married folks. Get out of the Song of Solomon. I gave the kids the book and I ripped Song of Solomon out because they wasn't ready for it.
Like, you got how many wives and concubines? Like,
yeah, so it's a lot, right? It's a lot. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't want you to do something because I said that it was wrong.
Right.
I really wanted to be your conviction. And as a young person, y'all, I was more of the judgmental friend. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you like, and thank God I've grown and changed, but in high school, especially, I was like, I mean, your body is a temple, so I believe that. Now, whether it was for the right reasons or not, right? I believed that for me. I believe that to be true for me. So my reasons was because I truly, believed that it was my conviction, but I don't necessarily want you to do something for me. I want it to be because of your relationship with Christ. And that's what I'm here to do as a youth pastor, as a mentor, as a leader. I am here to cultivate and develop that relationship with Christ where you have your own convictions, but it's not because somebody is condemning you. It's because of the relationship you have, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the things that we do or don't do is because I don't want to disappoint, right? I don't want to disappoint my parents. I don't want to disappoint my children, my family, whatever. I don't want to disappoint God, but that's about relationships.
Right.
And I think a lot of the times in church, we don't teach relationship as much as we teach religion, right? We teach a set of rules and this is what you have to do. And this is what but come on, until it becomes real to you because of relationship, then, I mean, I'm not saying go out there and do whatever. I'm just saying, it has to be about that. It's so important that it's about relationship for me.
And I think a lot of that spirituality and sexuality are often deemed as two separate things, right? That God is only in the sacred, God is not in the secular, and God is not in sex. But let's be real, who created sex?
Right. I mean,
that is worship. That is the highest form of intimacy.
He did it.
That two human beings can have. And I think, going back to not only your conversation about relationship, but conversation about sex not being this evil, nasty thing, and my body is this wretched, nasty place that I need to ignore, but allowing people to see the fullness and the wholeness of, like, God literally created us and looked at us and was like, that's good. Right. Right. And being able to appreciate that and being able to honor that and being able to walk in that, in the fullness and totality of who I am, not just from, my head to my belly button, like all of me is good.
Right. Right.
And having honest conversations about our sexuality is a part of that.
And I mean, it's all about I guess life is all about that, where you do or when you do what it is that you're gonna do, right? So of course, sex was created for marriage, but it was also why God put, let me see how I want to say this as PC as possible, but He made the way to create children pleasurable. Yeah. Right? So there's fruit that comes from this, right? It's not, and like you said, there's nothing wrong. And I think as women, which is kind of going to touch into our next subject a little bit, I think as women, we are shamed for being sexual beings, right? So we shame our young ladies into like, they're going to be boys. Well, young women have sex drives too. Like, if women didn't want to have sex, then none of God's well, I'm not going to say none of God's children, but if women didn't want to have sex or didn't have a sex drive, then that would be an issue. So I think to your point,
the world would be very angry.
Period. There's a certain sect of people that would be satisfied, but others just wouldn't. So my thing is, I think it's important to teach them that it's not a bad thing, right? It's not something that God meant for bad. And just because, sometimes it's presented that way, that doesn't necessarily mean that is anything wrong with you. It's just, we have to be careful where we do what we do. Right. And God, like I said, God created it for marriage. And yes, it's hard to wait and all of that good stuff. But it's tricky. It's tricky. It's tricky. I tell my kids, because they're like mine, right? I'm as honest with them as possible. I'm as transparent with them as possible. And some people disagree with this, but at the end of the day, I just tell them, I want you to be responsible, and I want you to know, like, I'm going to give you every given fact, right? Like, a child, and even an STD is probably the least of your worries. Like, be careful, if you just gonna be out there and you just gonna do certain things, just know that the wages of sin is death, right? And we don't get to choose how that pays out. Yeah. Right? We get to choose what we do, but we don't get to choose the consequence. So, I'm just completely honest with them. And, if you regret, anybody watching, if you regret not doing things in your youth, then, I don't know. Do you? I don't know.
Special prayer up for them.
We'll send a prayer up for you. Yes, absolutely. So I'm glad that kind of led to that, because the topic of things being a double standard, for men and for women, and for us to teach, our girls one way and teach our boys another way, is going to take us nicely into the next topic. So we're going to go to our last commercial break, and we will be right back. Stay tuned. Okay, so first I'm going to admit something that I'm not very proud of. When I was I wasn't even a teenager. I had to be like 10, right? 10 to 12, maybe. I was a fanatic, like an immature fanatic. I am very embarrassed to admit this. Oh, Kris, thank you. Because I was sweating even trying to admit that. Man, I was like, this is so embarrassing.
When they used to have no shirts on under those.
Oh, girl, we had the shirt. Listen, I have some very embarrassing pictures. Listen,
come on,
I was completely all in. Okay, so
don't let them come on Soul Train on Saturdays.
Okay, listen, I probably got to tape them. So okay, I'm not gonna get into this. So, if y'all knew about Immature, back in the day, the lead singer, Batman, aka Marques Houston, he recently got married. Congratulations.
To him.
Right for her. He is 39. And his bride is 19. Now, okay. I mean, I don't know. Y'all speak on, how do y'all feel? Age differences are real, right? I understand that and I respect that. But at what point are they too big of a gap? What do y'all think?
I guess in this instance, because she is so young.
Yeah.
I think if he were older and she were older with that same age gap, that 20 years, it would be a lot different. She hasn't really experienced life yet. And I've seen this with a family member, guy with somebody, and she was younger. She had a couple of kids. And then not too long after she had the kids, she was ready to go and do her. Because there were so many things that he had experienced that she had not. The other thing with this particular story is, though, that he knew her when she was really young. So a lot of people are questioning at what point they started dating.
The relationship. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's very tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very tricky.
Yeah. So that just adds kind of an extra element to this. Did they just start talking last year?
Right.
And planning this wedding last year?
Right. It happened very quickly.
For real? Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so I think that's kind of the issue for me when it's that big of an age gap and the person is that young.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just because, there's so much in life that she hasn't experienced yet. So is she going to get to a certain spot and start longing for those experiences? And I'm sure if she does get to that point, that will eventually create problems. Sure. And is it fair for somebody that's that much older for a lot of that, those experiences and that growth that you gain from those different experiences as you're going through, moving through your 20s?
Yeah. Nathalie, Kris, what y'all think of this union?
This is personal for me. So I'm gonna get all the way transparent because somebody put in the comments, and I agree, transparency is a form of liberation. Yeah. And so I think this is something that is pervasive in particularly the Black church that we don't talk about.
Okay, speak on it, sis.
So when I was 18, there was an older person that pursued me. And now that I'm older, I can see how that dynamic of power, position, and age, like when I was that age, I was just like, yes, the Lord did say this. This is the person I'm supposed to marry.
That's a good
point. But that's just because I didn't have the maturity, the life experience. I did not come into my womanhood to really understand and know what I needed or who I was. Yeah. Now I don't know Miss Miya, but for me, I think that is way too early for that large of an age gap, because just the maturation, the maturity, the womanhood. And then the second part about that again is that, so that's that, who you are at that point in your life. The second part of that is the power dynamic. Yeah. And how in different spaces and places, power is used in a way that subjugates people. And I'm not saying, I don't know what their life is. Maybe they're called to be with each other, but there are so many different ways that we see this happen, whether it's in relationships of marriage to someone younger, whether it's how people wield power in church, in corporations. Like there's so many dynamics in which we see these kind of, what I believe is unequally yoked relationships. And what does a yoke do? A yoke puts someone else in bondage.
Yeah. Good point.
And that was my thing. I'm like, how are you equally yoked with somebody with such an age gap? Like, can she even appreciate, I will never lie again? I don't think she can. It's odd, right? You wonder about the power. You wonder about the fact that he's been out there, he's been in entertainment, he's probably been getting it thrown at him since day one, since he was like 12 or whatever. He wanted the fresh meat, and okay, whatever, but it's odd, Yeah. So I personally don't quite comprehend that. But I wish them the best of luck. Jehovah, they said.
And I read comments, and most of the people who were saying anything about it being an issue were women, and I'm not saying that it was all women, but I saw some other comments like, y'all, I mean, she grown, leave this alone and blah blah blah. But my last question to you all is, I feel like if this was the other way around, like if this was a woman with a little boy, I feel like people would be making such a big deal out of it. But like we said earlier, it's a double standard. But I can't imagine, like I'm 33 and I can't, 25 is too young for me.
I mean, Black women got too many people to take care of. We got too
for me. I don't want a child. I don't want a son. I don't want a son. And I'm not saying that 25 is young. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. But 25 is a little young for me. 20 anything, honestly. Yeah. But so if it was a woman, a 40-year-old woman who was married to 19-year-old boy, I feel like they would be killing the woman. Like, we don't get no slack. Like, we just, like, the double standard is real. We got a lot to. Oh wait, somebody said it's a pedophile move. What do y'all think of that?
Totally agree.
Really? Well, I agree.
Absolutely.
So, wait. Reverend Adrian said it's an entanglement.
Well, see, listen.
Come on,
now that's a point.
Be her daddy.
Come on now.
Yeah. So he something that I read before I realized that they just recently got married. I want to say I read an article a few months back where people were questioning at what point did they get together. She is one of the good friends. Like, so they're Jehovah's Witnesses, okay. And she's good friends with Chris Stokes' daughter.
Okay.
They were good friends, so that's how they met. But it's still just like there's, and so most people are saying he definitely knew her before she was of age. So when did he start looking at her like that?
Right.
Right. It's just,
Yeah. It's a little touchy. And I don't know. I think this, to Nathalie's transparency, and I appreciate you being transparent, these things happen in the church. Right. Yeah. So we have in both ways, right? I'm not accusing one party more than the other, but there are situations that probably too many to speak of that, that this happens, especially back in the day. If we can go to back in the day, because people got married younger, right? So it was a little, it was different, but I don't know the way it would have been called out in the past. And I don't really know, are we calling it out now?
Come on now. You got all of these married men. They're not marrying the 19-year-old, but they doing some other stuff.
Yeah.
That part.
I'm not getting in nobody's congregation or nothing like that.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep it in. I can think of specific instances that have happened within the last year.
Yeah.
Of stuff that I know about. So it does happen where people abuse power. And then to the young girl, it looks really enticing because he has whatever position or he's been where he's been. And not to just bash all of the men, because I'm sure there are instances where when
women out here doing stuff too, right?
But like, come on, it's happening, and it's something that does need to be called out, and that we don't need to sit idly by and watch, because it's just not okay, and it's definitely a bad look when it comes through the church. Somebody put down low as well. Yes, there have been instances when male pastors have been found to be messing with young boys in the church as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's happening on all fronts more often than we would probably like to talk about and think about even. But listen,
And I mean, there are so many things. We started with the Black Lives Matter, and we went on to, sex, drugs, and alcohol in the fast life. And now we're talking about this. And there are so many things that parallel, right? There are so many things that are parallel in the church that we don't often talk about. We kind of sweep it under the rug, and we kind of act like it's not happening. All the while, people's lives are literally being ruined. You know what I mean? People are, stuck with all kinds of complexes and mental issues and things because of the things that are happening that in some cases we're too afraid to address. So, I think platforms, ladies, you all have platforms, and so many of the people who come on here have platforms. And I appreciate our generation challenging some of those things, because it's a lot of things that we have to get past in order for us to really, truly move forward. Right. So I didn't mean for this to get that serious, but it's the truth. Right. So I want to thank you ladies so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being open and honest in this conversation. And before we go, I want to give you all an opportunity to tell people where they can follow you on social media, anything you may have going on that you want them to follow you for. Just Nathalie, you can go on and tell people where they can find you, sis.
Yeah, I am Nathalie Nelson Parker on Facebook, Instagram, and I don't tweet, so don't go over there because you ain't gonna
Girl,
find
child, me neither, child. I can't. I mean, I try.
If you're interested in purchasing either one of my books, Transformation Starts With Me, Bold Strategies for Innovative Leadership, or I Love My Future HBCU, which has been recognized, and I'll be speaking at the White House for
Come on, White House.
Super excited. You can go to NathalieNelsonParker.com. And listen, the first stop, we have a transformation tour featuring #1 motivational speaker in the world, Dr. Eric Thomas, aka the E.T. the hip hop preacher. He's speaking on every stop. Howard University and
HU?
HU.
I didn't go, but I mean, I wanted to rep it. I just wanted to rep.
Yeah, that's gonna be our first stop on Thursday night. Stop what you're doing. Go to thelitconference.com. Use Labor 20. You can get 20% off of our VIP registration and go to every stop. Every message is different each night. We have amazing worship experiences, and we have like over 20 something speakers. It's like crazy. It's lit.
Yes.
Leadership, innovation, and transformation. If you're a young adult, young professional, and you're just looking for some empowerment to take your life to the next level and have some strategies from leaders who've actually done it, definitely make sure you stop what you're doing. Go ahead, register 10 people, okay? Because we need this lit.
Y'all check her out, and I want to say I'm so grateful for you being here. Y'all, she was at work. This is at work. She was like, I am at work. I'm downstairs. I got a lot going on. So I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know that all of you are busy and all of you have stuff to do, but taking time just to, come on little churchy chats. I really, truly appreciate it.
I'm rooting for everybody Black. Well,
Power to the people.
Not everybody, but you.
Thanks for being here, sis. Kris, tell the people where they can find you.
Hey, I'm on Facebook, Kris Hicks. I'm on IG, KE Hicks 71281. If you're interested in learning about any of the video production and creative stuff that I'm doing.
She the one, y'all. She the one.
You can go on over to rhythmandviewsproductions.com. Check me out there. It was certainly a pleasure to be on here with you, sis. Anytime you need me, I'm here for you. God bless you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And y'all, she is not a front of the camera person. So just to let y'all know that she did this for me, and I'm so grateful and I'm so proud of you and all that you do and all that you've accomplished. I'm just so proud to be connected with you. And I love you, sis.
Thank you, sis.
AJ.
Hey, okay, so I am AJ Glynn on Facebook, and then I'm AJ_Glynn3 on Instagram. I do not have anything that's like coming up really soon, but I do have some stuff that I'm working on. I'm writing, trying to finish a book, and a bunch of other things.
Yes.
So, and as soon as I get those things going really good, I'm gonna have stuff on my social media regarding those things. So
absolutely. And y'all, let me tell y'all, AJ has an amazing testimony. Go check out her Instagram page. I'm not gonna put her on the spot and make her tell it now, but she has an amazing testimony, and she don't play behind the Wileys. Let me let y'all know. Listen. I posted something and she was like, sis, who talking? Who talking? I'm ready to go. I was like, look, y'all better not play. Y'all better not play. But I am just so grateful to have you all on tonight. It has been an extreme pleasure. Ladies, I'm going to ask you to hang back just for 1 second. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Thank you all for joining the conversation, and meet me right here next week, same place, same time on Churchy Chats with the Church Girl. Good night.